YouTube. Redstone Piper here. Judging on some Stonehaven. My new 7LE. This is a Trevi poker. Fantastic so far. It's a 311 shape. Sits like that. Love it. Love this thing. First 7LE. So I'm gonna flip the view around because I'm driving. Be a little easier for me to drive and probably a more interesting view. So I've been wanting to do a VR to Pipe Cigar Therapy, Eric, and he had a really interesting request. I've been seeing a lot of pretty deep VR requests coming out, and in some of the latest giveaways, give-awards, and I've done quite a few of these, and they all they all really force me to dig deep, but that's interesting. I like that, and anyway, I think that's somewhat in the spirit of Pipes and Cigar Therapy channel, which is a great channel, by the way. If you don't follow, you should. So his VR request was, what is your greatest fear and what is your dream? Fears and dreams, like, that's perfect. So yeah, my greatest fear is that my son will wake up one day and I won't be there. And the interesting thing about that is, in a sense, that's already happened. I moved away. I went through all that with in the VR to Four-Eyed Pipers giveaway, but basically I moved away, and there were the consequences of that are that I eventually was able to see him less and less, and it was really hard for both of us. And I don't know, I think having kind of already faced it to some extent has solidified, how important it is for me that doesn't happen again. So, and in that case, I think it's one of those cases where facing your fears is a good thing, because now I no longer entertain ideas that maybe I can do this or do that, and it won't adversely affect my son. Now I just, he comes first always, and there's just no negotiating that part. There's no, well, it'll be okay if I do this. I don't know. People try to do too much, especially I think in these times. People really, it's so easy to try to do too much, to overcomplicate your life and miss, all those little moments. And I don't want to do that anymore. So that's yeah, that was a big learning experience for me. The other question is, what is your dream? And that's another really weird one for me to answer, because I don't know if I have one anymore, really. I mean, mine came true. I mean, since I was a little kid, all I could think about is, I wanted to become a director and make movies. And I did all these other things. I was really into video games as a kid, and eventually I started making video games. Actually, pretty early on, I was learning how to program, and then I went on to work for a big game company that was a big deal to me growing up, and I got really sunk into that because I just enjoyed it so much. But like in the back of my head, I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be a director, but I have no idea how to even do that. Like, I don't even know how to get started. And it was this pie in the sky thing. Several things all happened at once. My mom passed away, and that really kind of made me reassess my life. But at the same time, right around that same time, I was reading, I read 2 articles, one of them about how digital filmmaking was kind of becoming a thing, and then people were making movies digitally, and this is right around the time of the 24p camera. This is actually right before the 24p camera came out. So it was right before the explosion of film-like, indie movies that were coming out in the early 2000s. And the other article was about how Robert Rodriguez had gone and made his dream movie, like his feature film, for like $7,000, El Mariachi, and had gone to Hollywood and sold it. And it was this big success story, and it was a great book. It's called Rebel Without a Crew. Fantastic book. I started watching all of his movies, soaking up all of his commentary tracks, and just really having fun with that. And anyway, I started reading books on screenwriting and taking it more seriously, and I started to realize maybe there really is a way that I could do this. I quit a $20 an hour job to get a $10 an hour job editing video, so that I could learn how to shoot and edit, because I really didn't know how to do any of those things. And I spent a year doing industrial video to kind of cut my teeth on that, and shooting music videos and shooting short films and just being really involved in filmmaking. And anyway, that led to 15, 18 years, I know, something like that. I guess it was about 15 years of solid, just doing movies for a living. And I mostly made my money doing special effects on indie pictures, but I directed a few. I got to screen my movies for audiences, and I have movies that are on DVD and Blu-ray and whatever all over the place. I got in Fangoria magazine, like all that stuff happened. Anyway, the point is, none of that made me happy. None of it. I cannot stress how important that is to this story. None of that actually made me happy. I found that I didn't really enjoy making movies that much. I did enjoy being on set at 4 a.m., trying to get the generators to work and being eaten alive by bugs and attacked by snakes. I didn't really enjoy editing. I enjoyed. I got really good at it, I think. I loved editing to a point, but it got to the point where that I had edited so much, it wasn't really that much fun. And the thing is, you're just stuck doing it. For a feature film, you're stuck doing it for a really long time, especially if it's a problematic film, and everything I ever worked on was, because I never really got very good at it, honestly. I was a really good editor. I wasn't a very great filmmaker. So there was a lot of editing and a lot of sitting for months sometimes. I got it down. Like the last film I did, I edited it in one month. But some of the earlier stuff really broke me. And then the sound editing is the worst, because you're sitting there in silence. You can't really play music or do anything, because you have to hear everything. So it's just it's kind of grueling. The day-to-day experience of it was not rewarding, was not fun. I didn't enjoy it, and that was a big problem. So I guess I kind of reassessed what happiness really means, and I realized I was following my identity that I thought that I wanted, and not not what actually made me happy. And I learned about this phrase, follow your bliss, which means don't try to second guess what you think should make you happy. Don't try to apply some kind of label to yourself, some kind of identity to yourself, and hold yourself to that and say, well, I have to be this, I have to be that. Just think about what you would do for fun if all the other factors disappeared. What would just be fun for you? And what it came down to is what I really enjoy doing is coding and programming and creating video games. And I just enjoy the actual doing of that so much more than the actual day-to-day, existence of being a filmmaker. That was not enjoyable for me. So I'm not chasing that anymore. I don't want it. I'm doing the things that that bring me joy, that I actually love, and I figured out that happiness to me means a day-to-day life. What do you do every day? Get up, you work, what is your lifestyle? It's a lifestyle that brings you happiness, is so much more rewarding than some kind of identity or some kind of badge that you can wear that's walk into a place. What do you do? Well, I'm a filmmaker. I mean, that's only cool the first 10 times you do it. And then it's like that loses its excitement, and then you just have to kind of live with being that. And if that doesn't make you happy, then you're screwed. That's the unfortunate raw fact of it. You need more than that to be happy. So when people talk about following their dreams, I feel like I want to interject and say, well, wait a minute, I don't know if following your dreams is necessarily as rewarding as some people think it will be. I think it's important to really examine what brings you happiness. It's like wanting that really amazing sports car until you get it, and then you realize that it gets like 4 miles to the gallon, and it breaks down every 10 minutes, and then it just sits in the garage. What's the vehicle that really brings you happiness to drive? That you love to get in. I think that's the only analogy that I could think of that really fits this. Anyway, that's kind of my take on dreams and happiness, and on fear. I think it's important to face your biggest fear, because not doing so, I think, can really lead to disaster, and it never is as bad as you think it's going to be. And in my case, I actually learned how to prioritize things so that doesn't happen again. And with your dreams, I think it's important to reassess. Is this your dream because you think it will actually bring you happiness, or is it your dream because you want to be able to say that you did that, or that you became that? Because that'll wear off really fast. That's it. All right. Thank you for putting that out there, that question out there. And again, go follow Eric, Pipes and Cigar Therapy. And thanks for joining me on my slow, boring trip to work. All right. Thank you, YouTube. Redstone out.